It's Orbital from our Six Music classic album of the day. Even at the time, I remember seeing the words Oola and thinking, whoa, the world's brilliant. But we'll play another track. We've got one more track, of course, that's the penultimate track from the album of the day. We've been playing tracks all day. But let's go back to actually how it was made. Can you remember the bits of kit that you used?
Yes, I can.
Go on then. This is what was used to make our classic album of the day.
Okay, an Alesis SR16 drum machine, an Alesis HR16 drum machine, a Roland 909 drum machine, a Roland R8 drum machine, Roland 303 bassline, acid house machine, Roland SH101, SH09, they still don't sponsor us, Akai S700, the cheap one.
Yeah.
Yamaha DX100.
Right.
That was a vitally important. It's the baseline of Chime and House, a very important machine. But then when we got a publishing deal, we then went out and bought an Emax 2 sampler and a proper mixing desk.
How many days did you not go out the house after that arrived then?
I still haven't been out. We had to construct a metal table to put all this extra stuff. That's where we were expanding outside of the under the stairs, studio. Yeah.
So people will now be saying, you've got this kit. I'm trying to explain this in Blue Peter terms to people like myself, but you've now got all this stuff. What is the process of writing between you two?
You just kind of start fiddling and messing and see where you end up, really.
Being a typical bloke, take the instruction manual, throw that away, we'll just find out. This is like buying a new computer game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, this is what, I can't be bothered. Let's plug it in, start it up, see what happens.
That's so it.
I could go with that, but I'm going to have to confess I'm an actual total nerd. And I read manuals before I've even got the piece of equipment to decide whether I want to get it or not.
Is it difficult when you're constructing a track and you're listening to it in your heads and, looking at each other and where do we go? And I've got this and we've done this. How hard is it to know when to stop?
That's one of the most difficult things, actually, when we're recording, wouldn't you say, Paul?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest skill you can own.
Yeah,
as a musician is knowing when to stop. Use your instinct. Yeah. Use the force if you will, but it's like you just go with it, finish it, move on.
But particularly with a lot of the material on this record, because what works is the fact that sometimes it's what's been left out, it's the space in it, and if you'd have gone on and over cluttered this record, it wouldn't have been the same.
No, but you'll find with this, even though it sounded like a long list of equipment, we still only had 16 channels, so you'll probably find there were 16 channels flashing away at every given moment in these tracks, and that's it. The track's finished then. We
haven't really mentioned specifically some of the tracks on this record. Are there any that you think, you look back and they're either tracks that you have, genuine affection for, or the tracks that on the record you think it was really important because once we'd got that, then came this?
I think the Mobius was very much felt like the start of the album. I remember coming in and Phil had the beginnings of the Mobius on the go. And I said, that sounds good. I'll get the kettle on, and then we sort of worked on the track again, sort of, combining what Phil had started to do with one of our new synths that, we were learning and that kind of thing. And then in the evening, we would have gone to one of the two sort of takeaways in the village, got our dinner, sat down, watched a classic piece of sort of science fiction TV series that we used to love, and then all of a sudden someone said something on the programme and we just went, oh my God, that's brilliant. Yeah. We've got to sample that and put it in that track. And it just, the whole track came together and it was like, oh yeah, there's the start of the album, straight right there,
And you get, other things on the record. You mentioned Tubular Bells a second ago. Steel Cube Idolatry it's like Tubular Bells with beats.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah. It got its name from a bad review that we got in the NME, I think.
Really?
We'd achieved one of the things we'd always wanted to do, that was we got asked to support Cabaret Voltaire to a gig, and it was, oh my God, I can't believe it. And so it was brilliant. We did this gig and then saw the review, a couple of days later, let's have a look. And it's just like, two bald scientists on stage boring me, probably with songs like I Dream of Plexiglass and Steel Cube Idolatry. And we went, hang on, that's not bad.
We thought we'd turn it around. It wasn't that we thought it was too bad. We didn't think that was a good title, particularly. It wasn't. We thought we'd turn it on his head, and yeah,
The joke's on you,
No,
mate.
Yeah,
it's
sort
better
of
than I
thing.
dream of plexiglass.
Dream of Plexiglass.
I
You should do
dream
that
of
now.
plexiglass.
That's pretty good on the new album.
We're in the middle of an album.
Watch his space.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. But can you see as well though through the process, through the tracks on the album, you know, how you're evolving, the ideas are becoming sort of different or, you know, more adventurous? Because obviously if you start with something like High Rise, which is that's so ravey, isn't it? I mean, it's so of its time. Steel Cube has that really, it showcases that particular sort of electronic sound, which is very much of that time, wasn't it? It was sort of, represent that slightly high pitched, almost hollow type of time. But can you see as the record's developing, you know, the adventure beginning?
I think so, because we sort of threw in things like tracks like Desert Storm, which goes much more to our roots of listening to sort of lots of reggae and things like that. And sort of dub music.
Oh, yeah, Adrian Sherwood is a big influence.
Adrian Sherwood was
forgot
massive.
about him. On You Sounds.
The whole On You Sounds thing was massive on us, wasn't it?
Yeah, really big.
And so that was sort of a tip of the hat in that direction. Yeah. And again, you know, it's like our titles and themes, we'd often work with the television by sort of, we'd start a track, then we'd go and have lunch or something and watch the telly and sort of go, what's happening in the news? Oh my God, look at the right. You know, yeah, that kind of suits this track, doesn't it? And news items would pop out into our head. Then we'd take that news item and try and sort of think about it while we're working. So, you know, the sort of mournful kind of sad kind of Eastern sort of riff, I think, came in after having watched the news, you know, and seeing basically the Gulf War starting.
Yeah, it was the Desert Storm Gulf War. They just started World War III, basically, almost, you know. So that was
still going on.
God, yeah, I know.
Wow, so it's ever evolving as it's being made.
Yeah, no, totally.
And one of the tracks, the track which we played at the top of all this, actually, Speed Freak, which has this is one of the things I really like about the record, particularly this track. It's got this sort of 4 notes post Gary Newman sort of keyboard refrain, which goes round and round. And it's like having a bee flying around. If your head was square, it's flying around your square head. Yeah. And then right at the end, it sounds like the bee's really angry.
That's a really good description. Yeah, I like that.
But it's you know, that's, I don't know. How do you know that that's right? This is we've got something here. Do you remember that moment when you go, yep?
That big, the big synth as it comes in at the end. That was you slipping on the filter. It turned it up too much, and it was like. I was probably sat there going, no, flapping my, because we used to do it live. That was funny. That was a funny recording session there, because our mum was in the kitchen doing something else, because it was her day off from the pub, and we were blasting this out in the sitting room. It was quite mad. So
we'll play one more track, because we've got one last track to play, and this is the one which we knew at the start of the day you wanted to hear, so we've saved it for you. Belfast, tell us about this track.
Ooh.
This was a demo that had been done on cassette and not really thought about that much. You know, you've got to bear in mind the whole dance scene then was very amateurish. It was the whole thing was run by happy amateurs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and there were no agents and things like that. You used to get rung up by someone who'd got your number from Evil Eddie Richards or something like that and say, do you want to come and do a gig at my club? I think it would be really good, you know. We got a phone call from David Holmes, who wanted us to come and play at his regular bass club that he used to do in the Art College in Belfast. And we were like, I remember talking to him going, well, is it all right for us to come over there? You know, totally Mr. Naive from rural suburbia. Am I allowed in? Is it okay? Do you want us to come over there? You know, he said, oh, we'll look after you. It's fine. No, don't worry about it. And we went over there to play. Well, it was one of our first one of the really early gigs, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
One of my most memorable gigs. It sort of kicked off like you wouldn't believe, wouldn't it? It was
mental.
So. You know, those sort of scenes you see of the Beatles with everybody screaming. It was just mad like that. Yeah, well, that's why... And the reason that track's called Belfast is why David Holmes, being the cheeky man that he is, said, oh, you got any demo tracks or anything on tape that I can have? And it's like, I said, well, actually, I have. I've got 2 tracks here on this cassette. He said, oh, give us it. It's like, all right, then. I gave it to him, didn't think anything of it. And 2 weeks later, he rung back and said, oh, we all love that second track. That second track on your demo, it's brilliant. We love it. And... that turned into Belfast. We named it after them because they loved it so much in Belfast.
Yeah, the vocal on it as well, because Paul had done the majority of it. I came down and I was making up a birthing tape, if you like, for one of my kids, and that was the Feather on the Breath of God. ballad sort of vocal
Sing
bit
that again.
in it, and I was going, wait a minute, because he was playing fiddling about with that, and I was on the headphones making this tape up, and it was just like fitted perfectly, didn't it?
Yeah,
we
yeah. No,
got
I
that
remember.
little
So hang on,
beautiful
pulling out
little
the headphones.
part of the story as well, which was Belfast, yeah, and it hits people, that one, which is great.
So it was made with 1,000 drum machines and 87 takeaway curries. It's been our classic album of the day. It's Orbital. Thank you very much, boys, for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.